It's still real to me, damn it. I mean,
hey, we don't have our normal Jeremy Johnson who laughs every time we do that video. He's Howie Cheney. In the middle of us is a special guest tonight. We know him as the Arabbidb3aver. He is Mr. Joseph Hughes. Welcome aboard, and thank you for being with It's Still Real tonight with us.
Oh, it's such an honor to be here. I can't tell you how great it feels to be on RiverCity-Media and on the I Still Believe podcast. I want to let you guys know that we've been following you from the very beginning, all your football stuff that you've been doing. And my God, you guys have got such great content that I would advise anybody who's watching out there, subscribe, like, and follow these guys, especially if you like football, you like wrestling, you like sports, you like basketball. These are the guys to follow. They're going to be the ones that get you there each and every week with all the scores, all the updates, and everything that's going on. So thank you for having me. I appreciate being here.
Hey, I'm so glad that the check got to you before the show tonight, where you could brag on us a little bit.
What check? What are you talking about?
Howie, that's going to be cut into the opening of RiverCity-Media. That's all I know because it's the best promo we've ever had. Hey, well, let's just cut to the chase a little bit. We joined the wrestling community about 1.5 years ago, and as we were growing and doing different stuff, we started to cross paths with you. And when Rocky Shaw actually turned me on to you and said, hey, if you really want to get serious about local wrestling, go to Wrestle Talk. Tell me a little bit about Wrestle Talk, your role, and what brought you to here.
Okay, sure. Absolutely. So in the mid-2000s, I think it was 2009, 2010, I got a chance to meet Mr. Harley Race. I was working for the CW in Chattanooga, Tennessee, and he wanted wrestling to come on into our area. He was promoting for, of course, which is World League Wrestling, or it was World League Wrestling while he was alive. Still World League Wrestling now, but it's harleyrace.com is how you can find him. And we had a board meeting, and I was the deciding vote, the last one. There was 13 of us in a room, and I was vote number 13. And my vote was the one that got him on at 2:00 in the morning in Chattanooga, Tennessee. And that's kind of where it started. And he only lasted about 2.5 years. His bill was extremely expensive. He was paying about $13,570 a month at that point in time to be put on TV. So he was forking out the money to make sure that he was being put on the air and being put in. And he got a crappy time slot. He got 2:00 in the morning on Chattanooga. And, he started calling us, sending people to bring it. At that point in time, we had little itty bitty tapes. They almost looked like cassette tapes, but they were just a little bit smaller. And he would record it, and they would bring it down. And he brought it down like clockwork every week, Thursday night into Friday morning. He would be there normally between 8 and 12 p.m. He'd show up, and he'd give us the little tape, and we just started a conversation, started talking. And from that point in time forward, it was just little things. It's, why don't you come out? Or why don't you come do this? Or do you know anybody in the area who's doing this? And can you find somebody that would be interested in hosting for us? And so we just started looking at, at that point in time, I was married to somebody else, and we just started looking to try to get into the world of wrestling on that front. And I did it for about 4 years for him until about 2012. And then something happened, and he stopped coming. The media stopped coming, everything stopped going with it. And we got out of wrestling for quite a big period of time. And about 2019, we kind of got back into it and started looking for shows, looking where to go. Crossfire Professional Wrestling was trying to get off the ground at that point in time. We went to a couple Crossfire shows. Joe Kazana Promotions was still trying to build that big thing that they were going for. And we got into Joe Kazana Promotions. And from that point in time forward, we just started running. We found a home this last year with Championship One Wrestling out of Cleveland, Tennessee. We were doing some of their broadcast on Saturday morning for them. We're no longer doing that. I need to say that up front. But we were doing their broadcast for them. We did it for them for about 7.5 months. We drove their viewership normally from about 40 people episode to about 200 people an episode. So it really brought itself up just by being able to announce over their videos and to host their videos and put it out. And then from there, we just got started, asked to go everywhere. Joe Kazana, the kids, Casey Kazana, all of them have asked us to come, and they started sending me stuff. And then it just started snowballing. It went from there to New South Pro Wrestling. New South has asked us and promotes with us all the time, shows us different things. World League Wrestling we promote for, the National Wrestling Alliance we've been promoting for, and it just started snowballing and going into effect, and we just got to go everywhere and see everything and do anything. So really about the last 2 years, we've been serious about it again, and it started to become to the point to where every Monday I look at my emails and I look at my list on Facebook. And normally Facebook has between 150 and 250 messages waiting on me to go, hey, will you promote for us? Will you do this? Will you do that? Can you please put us out there? And I love doing that for them. And, you know, it's so much that you forget sometimes what's happening in the world of wrestling because there's so many shows that are going on at any given time. So that's kind of how we got started and back into it. We just started making our social media presence. From Championship One Wrestling, whenever we left Championship One Wrestling, we jumped right into podcasting back directly out of their show, and it's just ran. It just started taking off. I actually got to give a shout out to Mr. Evan Golden. Mr. Evan Golden was actually our first guest whenever we started podcasting back. He came on as our first guest ever, and his first episode did almost 540 views by itself within 24 hours. So he was the one that really jumped us and gave us our name and put us back into viability with the wrestling community. And from there, it's went everywhere. It's went to the Wrestling Society. It's went to you guys, RiverCity-Media. It's went to the podcasting community direct. It's gone on StreamYard, Buzzsprout, Podbean. I mean, we've been all over Spotify. We're just everywhere. We're anywhere and everywhere that you can think of besides iTunes. And it's one of those things that if you would have told me 2 years ago that it was going to be taking off and running the way it would, I would have told you were crazy. There was going to be no way in the world that we were going to be involved with Forever Pro Wrestling and SPCW, Southern Pride Championship Wrestling out of La Follette, and the School of Morton, Ricky Morton's place. I would have told you there was be no way whatsoever we'd be involved with the National Wrestling Alliance or anybody. And here we are. We're involved with them, and every day we've got something new coming up. So it's a lot of fun.
You know, you brought up a name that's close to my heart in Harley Race, and a good friend of mine, Justin Race, his son, of course, I still communicate with regular. Was that jump with Harley, did it give you a little bit of confidence to continue this down the road?
So whenever we started going to Harley's stuff, he pretty much made us I don't want to say slaves because it's not like slave labor, but it was just, will you set up chairs for us? Can you run concessions? Will you help us with ticket sales? Will you do this for us? And we did everything that they asked us to do. Every time we cleaned bathrooms. I mean, we did everything that they asked us to do. And I think what it was is he was just trying to prove to see if our heart was really in it. He wanted to make sure that we were in it for the right reasons and not in it for the bad reasons, but we just kept doing it and kept showing up and kept going. And every time that we did something for them, it just got bigger and bigger. It felt like, I don't know if you guys believe in the Bible or believe anything in the Bible, but it says that anything that you put your hands to do, it'll prosper. And that's really how it felt. It felt like even though that we were small, we didn't know where we were going or what we were doing. He gave us confidence in the ability of, if we were ever to open our own promotion because of Harley Race, I know a lot of the ins and outs of the inside of the business that a lot of people don't get to see. How to put the ring up and tear the ring down, how to make sure that your boards are straight, that they're not, you don't have any wrinkles inside your boards or any soft spots or hard spots that are going to, hurt people later on inside the matches. We got to see the concession side of it. How much do you need in water? How much Gatorade do you need? How much, and sometimes you sell out early. Sometimes you have things that happen. But it kind of gives you a ballpark of if you're averaging for 200 people, how much stuff do you need? And that's the education that we got that nobody else got to see from the backside of it. And I have to thank Harley Race for it. And he was tough. He was hard. He would say stuff just to see what you were made of sometimes. And he would put it in such a way that it would offend you. Like he tried to offend you on purpose just to see if you were going to stick with it or if you were going to walk away from it. So I have to say that about him, but he was a fair man. I've got to tell both sides of this. He was a fair man. If you stuck with him, eventually he got to the point to where he would call you his friend. That took a long time for him to do that. It took about 5 years, for him to finally say, this is my friend, this is my friend. But my Lord, he definitely put you through the fire. He tried to make sure that you knew that you were in the business to be in the business for good.
You know, it's funny. My Harley race was Ivan Koloff, and it just sounds like the same story. It's almost exact. You know, and you felt like everything he did was out of love, but it was put you through that. And in my case, I did not want to be in the wrestling business that bad. And I remember him having a conversation with me and saying, "You're getting a degree. You're about to finish your school. You should go home and not run away with the circus." That was pretty much his words to me. That's hilarious. He tell that story. Howie, you got anything to follow up with that on?
I kind of want to go in reverse a little bit. Can we go? Okay. Can we go way back? What got you started into this wrestling business?
I think the match that made me want to be inside wrestling whatsoever was Demolition versus the Hart Foundation at SummerSlam. I believe it was 91 or 92. And it was a 2 out of 3 falls count match, and Demolition was cheating their butts off. There was a 3-piece in Demolition. You had Axe Smash and Crash, and all 3 of them were out there, and they were cheating. They were rotating in and out, pulling what they call twin magic now for the Bella Twins, if you know what I'm talking about. But they were rolling in and out and changing people in and out. And the Hart Foundation was just Bret Hart and Jim the Anvil Neidhart, and they were going at it. I mean, they were going at it hard and heavy, and it got to a point to where the Legion of Doom came out. Hawk and Animal came out and exposed what was going on to the refs and took them into the back and made it a fair fight. And from that point in time forward, from that match forward, I went, there's something about wrestling that I've got to watch. And I had SummerSlam, I had that SummerSlam on tape, so I'd watch it over and over and over and over. And there was just something special about that. And then I can remember Brother Love. I don't know if you remember that with Lord, I lost his name off the top of my head. Bruce Pritchard. So Brother Love would come out, and he would always have that music playing in the background. He'd go, "Let me tell you something about," and it just was so theatrical and so good that it made me want to be in it somehow, some way. And it took a long time. I mean, so I was 20, I want to say 22 when I got in. And I mean, that's really where we broke in with Harley Race, was about 22 years old. So it took me a long time to break in, but I believe that Harley had something special. He saw something special in everybody, and it pulled the best out of everybody that he could. And then another story that I've got for you is when I was about 7 years old, Andre the Giant was in Chattanooga at the Chattanooga Lookouts game. He came, it was a big promotion that was there. And I remember meeting him, and still to this day, he's the biggest man I've ever seen in my life. And he shook my hand, and I promise you, like, if you think my phone is big in my hand, like it's covering my hand, his hand was about the size of this bottle. Like, it was huge. Wow. It was a huge hand. And that, just the way that he carried himself and the way he talked, there was just something about him that I've never forgot. And it's been very special. And I've heard Mark Henry tell the same story where he got to meet Andre the Giant. When he did, it changed his life. It was just the way that he treated us as people, the way that he treated us as fans. You know, he could have blown everybody off and said, "Leave me alone," and whatever, but he was there for all of us kids. He wanted to talk to all of us kids. He wanted to make sure that we knew that he was a wrestler. I mean, he was just great to us. So those are the 2 biggest influences, well, 3 really, that I've had on my life.
So he was truly a gentle giant back in the day.
Yes, he was. So, absolutely.
I'm a little disappointed. You talk about Demolition. You left out the most important thing, in my opinion. Mr. Fuji coming out with a painted face. I mean, how can you not mention Mr. Fuji being out there with that painted face?
Well, because every time we think about Mr. Fuji, we always think that he's going to be with Yokozuna. I mean, that's really where I go back to in the past. Is he always took care of Yokozuna. He always took care of his affairs. He always took care of everything that went with him. And with that came all the other stuff that happened with Yokozuna. So we know that Yokozuna passed away early. After he passed away, he pulled out of the business. So Mr. Fuji, I want to keep his legacy the way it is with Yokozuna. I want to keep him at the top tier of a manager. He was one of the best managers of our time period growing up, seeing him. I'd have to give it to him and Jimmy Hart if I had to pick managers. If I'm going to pick 2 managers, and Bobby the Brain Heenan would be a close third to me. the managers that could get under your skin, that just knew how to talk the talk, knew how to walk the walk, and knew how to get dirty with it. I think those are the three that would do it for me. But Mr. Fuji had something inside of him, something that he knew how to pull out of the fans to get them angry each and every match. And of course, you got to see, we were in the Cold War at that time, and we had just come out of the World Wars previously, just a few years before. So whenever he debuted on the scene, he already had it with Japan, throwing that Japan flag up, flagging it everywhere, moving it. And it was really USA versus Japan the whole time. So that was a great time in the world of wrestling for us as kids growing up, and as adults going back through and rewatching that stuff.
Yeah, and you know, give credit to Mr. Fuji. No matter who he was managing, he came out dressed like them as well.
Yes, he did, all the time, every
regardless
time
of
he
who
did.
it was. So, but yeah, that's a great story. So the Demolition versus the Hart Foundation really got you involved and really wanting you to do it. So, was there a particular moment in that match that's like, man, I want to get into this?
It was actually when the Road Warriors came out, whenever they exposed Demolition for being the three-piece that they were and took them into the back. That was the most spectacular moment that happened. Before then, I mean, of course, you're a kid. We're getting emotional. We're thinking about, these guys are cheating. There's got to be something that's got to be done to keep them from cheating. And when the Road Warriors came out to expose the cheating and got them out, and it made it a fair fight, you could see the whole crowd popped. It turned around for them, and it was just great. It was just wonderful the way that it happened. The Hart Foundation was able to get the 1, 2, 3 and finish that 2 out of 3 falls match. The first match where the Hart Foundation actually won the first match was out of that series was one of the other parts in that is you could really feel that the crowd was behind them 100% after that first match went through. And us as kids watching it, we got behind them after watching it. And there was just something spectacular about Bret Hart, the way he treated his fans, the way that Jim the Anvil Neidhart treated their fans whenever they came out. He gave his glasses away each and every time that he was out there. If he had extras, he would give his extras out. Sometimes his wrist tape he would give out. I mean, he did all sorts of stuff to make sure that the fans were involved. And I think that was really the biggest moment, and also the biggest, like, I want to be a wrestling fan because I want the glasses. I want to get that stuff. That was it, you know? Like, take me to a show. I want to get involved. So
you was talking to Dad and Mom saying, hey, we got to get front row, or we got to get ringside where we can get those glasses.
yeah, absolutely.
So, you know, talking about your all this and everything, what would you say would be your favorite brand or your favorite federation, or the best that you there is in your time?
So I'm going to take this back to kind of the main roots. You know, I think that WWF is good, or the WWF was good. WWE now is good. But I don't think that they were always the best. I think the National Wrestling Alliance has always been the best wrestling on the planet. That's just me personally. That's why I follow them. The way that I follow them, the way that I promote their wrestlers, the way that I put their people out is because growing up, I mean, we had people like the Rock and Roll Express. Of course, they cross-promoted with WWE and WCW and everywhere else, but they were the main title holders in the NWA. Dusty Rhodes. Here's another one. You had the Sweet Soul Brother, Dusty Rhodes. And he was NWA champion for as many years while I was growing up, and kept going out. Sorry. But, you know, Ric Flair, you think of all these people, and all of them have one thing in common, and that's the National Wrestling Alliance. Some of them went on to be in the WWF or WWE. Some of them went on to be in WCW. But where they got the most success and where they got their most fame was in the National Wrestling Alliance, is where it started with them. Some of them started in AWA, Vern Gagne's AWA, and then they transferred into the National Wrestling Alliance and got the notoriety from the National Wrestling Alliance. But if you go back through history, anybody who's been anybody and anybody who's been everybody in the business has won those titles in the National Wrestling Alliance. And it's the one wrestling company that separates the big boys from those that just want to play the game.
Do you also feel like that with it being kind of Southern people in the NWA, it gives you more of a bond with them?
I wouldn't go that far. I wouldn't say that it's only Southern people that are in the NWA. Currently, we have a lot of Southern NWA that's happening. So Dog Pound out of Texas is available. JCP, which is Joe Kazana Promotions, which is right out of Athens, Tennessee, is where they're located, but they run all over Tennessee. You've got Crossfire Professional Wrestling, which is out of Sevierville, Tennessee, but run all over Tennessee as well. Then you've got Exodus Pro, which is in Ohio. They're normally in Cleveland, Ohio, out of that area. You've got World League Wrestling, which is Harley Race's World League Wrestling, and now it's Trevor Murdoch's company is who's running it for him, and they're out of Troy, Missouri. So, I mean, I think wrestling is prominent in the South because a lot of people will thrive on seeing good versus evil. And that's what's missing in a lot of the big storylines that we've got today in some of the bigger companies is we've gotten away from telling good versus evil and keeping a rivalry going. And we've moved into, let's have a short rivalry, 2 or 3 weeks, throw a pay-per-view up, and it's over with forever. You don't get the long-term storytelling. I mean, my God, can you remember a time when Roddy Piper let anything go? Anything with anybody? Tell me one time that he let it go. He kept it going for years. It did not matter if he was in Georgia Championship Wrestling, if he was in Portland, if he was in the WWF, it all rolled over. He still hates Mr. T. If he was alive today, you would hear him say that he still hates Mr. T for the way that he came into the business. So, I mean, you have to take it at that aspect is I believe in keeping kayfabe real. And I know that really what's gone on since about 2016, they've let people into the backside of the industry. They've opened it up, and now you can really see the ins and outs. People travel together. People do this together. People do that together. But the way it was back in the day, if you had 2 people that got seen together, that one was a heel and one was a baby face, they would separate. They wouldn't even let them travel together. If they did, it would blow their cover. They were so afraid that it would blow the cover and that wrestling would be caught as FAKE that it would ruin the reputation inside the industry and for the business. And we can even go into rivalries such as Jerry Lawler and Andy Kaufman. Excuse me. So, and if you really want to keep it real, Andy Kaufman wore a neck brace for almost 2 years to prove that Jerry Lawler broke his neck by pile driving him in the center of the ring. Kept it going because it was so much money for them. And then, of course, we know the infamous David Letterman segment where Jerry Lawler just slapped the taste out of his mouth and he came back and said, "I'm going to sue you, Mr. Lawler. I'm going to sue you for everything you got." You know, but they kept it running. They kept everything running for years to make sure that the money was there. And the beautiful thing about Andy Kaufman is after he died, his mom found a whole pile of checks from every show that he had been involved in. He never cashed a check from any show. Never. That's honorable. I don't care what anybody says. You know, everybody that's out here is normally working for 1 day a week or 2 days a week, and they are living paycheck to paycheck before a man that just loved the business and would show up in the middle of nowhere, you know, at any given time and receive a check and then wouldn't even cash it. You know, they found it through it was goodness, I can't think of his name off the top of my head. The Jarrett's, Jerry Jarrett. It was Jerry Jarrett. They found his books, and he was almost $1 million in the positive where he should have been cashed out, completely cashed out, over $1 million. And it was Kaufman's checks. He never cashed one of them.
Wow.
So I believe in keeping kayfabe alive, baby. I do.
Yeah, absolutely. One more question. I'll turn it back over to Randy real quick, but you mentioned something. You're talking about keep the past to the present and everything. What from the past do you miss in present day wrestling?
Managers, real managers.
Yes.
Yes, I mean, I have to say it. I really have to say it. We don't have any Bobby the Brain Heenans no more. We have a Paul Heyman, but he's only there part-time now with WWE, right? So we've got to get back to getting, and tag team wrestling. We got to get where tag team wrestling is prominent again. We've got to a point to where it's gotten so stagnant that you can tell what's going to happen. You can't do that. You got to get real managers, real tag team wrestling back, and make it real again. Make it believable again. Make the managers be the worst heels that they can be at any given time to help everybody out. I mean, that's really what we got to do. And I've got to mention in SPCW, there's a gentleman by the name of Joe Briggs. He's the Doctor of Destruction. He's got a real manager. Her name is Rebecca Lynn, and she is the dirtiest player in the game as far as a manager goes. But we've got to get those managers back. We've got to get them coming back out, taking up for their people, putting on the best show that they can, getting involved in any way that they can, and getting the crowd that reaction that's going to be coming out. I mean, Bobby the Brain Heenan was the best at getting that reaction. You remember people calling him the Weasel? Weasel, Weasel. They did it all the time. Everywhere he went, he was the Weasel, baby. And it got under his skin so much that he played off of it, and he would go into action as the Weasel. And he would even wrestle as the Weasel, from time to time. Every once in a while, he'd wrestle as the Weasel. But you got to see, that's what we're missing inside of professional wrestling today. Jimmy Hart was one of the best at it. If we go back, whether he was promoting Hulk Hogan, whether he was promoting the Big Boss Man, whoever he was promoting, he always had their jacket on. The Ultimate Warrior, he always had a jacket that had their stuff on, and he was all about them and only them when their match was out there. And he didn't care what he had to do to get them to win or to help them win, especially if they were a bad guy. He was promoting a bad guy. He'd hit him with the megaphone. He'd talk trash to him. He'd choke him in the corner. He'd do everything he could to make sure that his client won. And that's what we got to get back to in professional wrestling. We got to tell the stories that happen to have those managers involved in them, to where people hate those managers so much that when they come out, it's going to be a booing night from start to finish. I mean, you got to get that back in. And tag team wrestling. So if we get tag team wrestling more viable, I think that where we've gone wrong with the tag team division is we don't have the storylines that we used to have. And what we talked about this earlier, long-term storylines with tag teams, such as Demolition and the Road Warriors, such as the Koloffs, the Russian Connection. You got to have those long-term storytelling that goes into it. Do you remember the Iron Sheik whenever he changed positions? And when they had Sergeant Slaughter change positions with him, I mean, there was death threats on their lives because people believed it so much. The turn was so real to them in their mind. You got to get back to that. We've done a great job as entertaining people inside the business, but we got to do more than just entertain people. You have to tell the stories that keep people invested and involved long term. If you don't do that, your companies start to go downhill. I know that WWE has had a lot of problems money-wise, and that was one of the reasons why they started to sell. And that's huge for them, because if you're talking about a company that on average brings in over $100 billion a year, the first year that they brought in less than $12 billion a year, they sold out. They sold everything out. And so that was a huge drop in money for them. Well, one of the reasons I think that happened is because they made it so stagnant. It was predictable. They could tell what was going to be happening, when it was going to be happening, who's going to be doing what, how they were going to be doing it. And the way you keep that from evolving is you got to go back to your storytelling. You got to make sure that the stories make sense again. If you're going to put somebody long-term against anybody, so let's just throw two names out for WWE currently, okay? Let's say Randy Orton's healed, perfectly healed and healthy. Kevin Owens, we all know what happened there, right? Everybody saw that? Okay, so why don't we have a long-term storytelling with that? Randy Orton comes back mysteriously on one of Kevin Owens' matches and just demolishes him, puts him directly out. It would set up the next set of pay-per-views for 3 or 4 different pay-per-views. It would set up the next set of shows for them, house shows, whatever they're doing. But I don't believe that they have it in the cards because their writers are writing a year in advance, and they're so stressed out that they can't keep up from one story to the other. You got to have individual writers again. That was one of the things that Vince Sr. did perfectly. He put individual writers and individual bookers for individual talent. So if you were a tag team talent, you had an individual writer and an individual booker for you. And it made sense for you to have those people because that person's going to tell your story for the next year. And he's only writing for you, or she is only writing for you. So the story has a huge storyline to go off of. And I think we got to get back to that, sir.
Randy, I know it's Thursday night, but this man right here just took me to church. Go ahead, Randy.
Yeah, Jim Cornette. OJC in Louisville might be happy, too, that we talk about. Yep, this is great. I could sit here all night and talk to you, but I want to talk about just what brought you to this point. But what I want to go to now is your association, and you're always so busy, so much on the card, and you're blessed that way. Can you give us some of your upcoming events and where folks could go and see you?
Absolutely. So currently we're working on getting into World League Wrestling in Troy, Missouri. We've been in talks with Trevor Murdoch. We spoke to him at Exodus Pro. We're waiting for a date when the NWA is actually going to come and do some video footage there as well. So we will be going to World League. Let's start with that. I don't know when. I know we're scheduled it for January, but he hasn't given me a specific date yet. But we will be at World League Wrestling in Troy, Missouri, whenever he gives me the call, and I will update you. You guys will be the first to know on that whenever it happens. Secondly, we're going to be doing on December 9th, we're going to be doing a promotion for Piledriver Pro Wrestling. That's Monday for you guys, December 9th at 7 p.m. at D1 Athletics in Knoxville, Tennessee. Now, this is an absolutely free show, and by free, I mean if you bring a brand new boys or girls toy that has never been opened, because they're going to be doing a toy drive for Toys for Tots. If you bring a brand new toy for them, you will get absolutely free general admission into the show. And that, guys, is going to be at D1 Athletics. I believe it's 10258 Hardin Valley Road in Knoxville, Tennessee is where that's going to be at. The bell time, I believe, is going to be 7 p.m. The doors are going to be opening at 6 p.m. And it's going to be having a lot go on. Axton Lowe is going to be there, or Axton Ray, depending on which territory you know him from. He is currently one of their heavyweight champions that's there. Alan Beats is going to be there. Tyler Shoup, the man that is all over the place. He is all over the Southeast, all over Ohio Valley, all over everywhere. He is going to be there. He's going to be live in action. Andy Optimal is going to be there. Chains is going to be there. Gustavo Aguilar is going to be there. And so many more, guys. The Heat Seekers are going to be there. The Weaver and the Pain are going to be there. If you don't know who they are, that's the Dreamweaver Wade Moxie and Bruiser Bobby Mitchell are going to be there. And they have got a huge rivalry going on with the Heat Seekers. It's been over 2 years that it's been going through. Appalachian Mountain Wrestling has had them go crazy, and they're still not finished, and they're bringing it into other promotions. Von Miller is going to be there as well. So many more right there. Moving from there on December 14th. Now, December 14th is a big day in the world of wrestling, but we have committed to pro wrestling entertainment. We're going to be going to Christmas for the Kids right there in Portland, Tennessee. It's going to be at let me make sure I'm saying this right. Richland Gym in Portland, Tennessee is where it's going to be at. It's going to be across from the public library. We're catty corner to the public library. That's right there. And it's going to be on the same basis. You got to bring a brand new boys or girls gift in order to get in for general admission for free. And they're going to be hosting that there as well. That's going to be one of the next events that we're going to be going to. I know that World League Wrestling, now we're going to try to get here for Christmas, but I don't know if we can or not because we're already booked somewhere else. But if the tables turn and for some reason Pro Wrestling Entertainment cancels, our next one is actually World League Wrestling in Troy, Missouri for the 14th as well. So we will fly to that one if we can get there. That's 2 dates that we've scheduled the same thing for just in case. Now, Cadillac Williams is their heavyweight champion right now at World League Wrestling, and he kind of bit off a little bit more than he can chew, and it's going to be coming to a head at Christmas Bash 24 in Troy, Missouri right there. And that's going to be at 198 Cherry Blossom Way in Troy, Missouri. Of course, I mean, we cannot talk about December 14th without talking about Dothan, Alabama. The National Wrestling Alliance is going to be at the Dothan Civic Center in Dothan, Alabama. You can get your tickets directly from the nationalwrestlingalliance.com. Scroll up to the ticket page, scroll down. They will have a video that is going to be playing for you directly. If you scroll down, it'll be right there. It's going to be called The Looks That Kill, December 14th, 2024 in Dothan, Alabama. Now, that card is packed. It's got everybody on it. It's got the tag team champions. It's got both sets of tag team champions on it. So you've got Trevor Murdoch and Mike Knox as one set of tag team champions, the actual heavyweight tag team champions out there. You've got the Kazana kids, which is AJ and Casey Kazana, are the United States tag team title holders. They're going to be there. Blunt Force Trauma is going to be there. Aaron Stevens, formerly known as Damian Sandow in the WWE, is going to be there. The Southern Six, Kerry Morton. You're going to have Silas Mason, the Thrill Billy, and Alex Taylor are going to be scheduled to be there. La Princesa is going to be there. Natalia Markova is going to be there. EC3 is scheduled to be there. The World Heavyweight Champion, current World Heavyweight Champion, the real World Heavyweight Champion, I might add, in the NWA, Mr. Tom Latimer is scheduled to be there. Church's Money is going to be there. Big Smooth is supposed to be there. And Big Strong Mims is supposed to be there as well. And so many more. That's just the beginning of the card that they have put out from the National Wrestling Alliance. There's lots of stuff that's going to be going on. The School of Morton, of course. I mean, we definitely have skipped over them a little bit, but the School of Morton is going to be doing some TV tapings on December 8th 2024. And that's going to be a 5 p.m. show for you guys for December 8th. Tickets are going to be $10. You can also get a special discount on your tickets if you order them through ticketleap.com. Search for the School of Morton, search Newport, Tennessee, and it'll bring you up to Ticket Leap's event page. If you scroll down, they've got 2 events that are available there. If you click on either of those at checkout and put in the promo code RABBIDBeaver, that's capital RABID, capital BEAVER, all together, you're going to get a special promo on those tickets, and you're going to be able to get a discount as well on those that's coming up there. We've also got, let me make sure I'm telling you the truth, because we have a lot of stuff that's going to be happening. Saturday, December 28th, Championship One Wrestling is going to be taking place in McDonald, Tennessee. That's going to be at 130 McDonald School Road in McDonald, Tennessee. It's going to be Holiday Havoc. There's going to be so much stuff that's going to be going on there. They just had a brand split last month that got fixed. Team Kevin versus Team C1W, Championship One Wrestling, and Championship One Wrestling won out. So now Championship One Wrestling, under the new rebrand of their Championship One Wrestling, is going to be doing some excellent stuff. You guys definitely don't want to miss that. And I've forgotten one. I know I have. It should be Forever Pro Wrestling, which is going to be happening December 1st, 2024 at the VFW in Amnicola Highway. That's 2402 Amnicola Highway, Chattanooga, Tennessee. Tickets are going to be $10. And man, they've got a stacked card, if I do say so myself. Teriyaki is going to be facing Zach Dye. I believe it's going to be the after hours match. I believe that's a 4 p.m. bell time for you guys, just so you know. Jazzy Yang is going to be versus Peyton Blair of the Goons. I mean, my goodness, it's going to be so great. Prime is going to be versus AMJ. And if you don't know, AMJ is one of the hottest commodities in the Southeast currently. And he is definitely running amok of anybody that comes in contact with him. So it's definitely going to be something to see when he goes against Prime, because Prime has been known to put people down and out and keep them out of action for years. So it's going to be something to see with AMJ right there going to happen there. Stryker and Monroe are going to be versus Cage and Stevens. And what we mean by that is Edith Monroe, the old flamboyant woman herself, whatever you want to call her, is going to be there. And she is going to be getting under the skin of the crowd, as you know. And they're teamed up with Damian Stryker, and Cage and Stevens are going to be finally getting their hands on them, trying to take them apart. Chris Crunk and Jameson Shook. My Lord, what can we say about this? Chris Crunk hates Jameson Shook. Jameson Shook hates Chris Crunk, and there is no love lost between these two. Every time that they meet, it's a battle, and a huge battle, to say the least. And we've got to get to a point to where these two have come to it, got to get it out of their system, and it comes to a head. But it's not going to happen this Sunday, I promise you that, because they're going to be trying to destroy each other from bell to bell until it's over with, and maybe even afterwards. We saw a couple weeks ago, they took it outside, and they kept it going, even in the parking lot after it was over with. So, you never know what you're going to get with Forever Pro Wrestling, and it's going to be a great time for you guys. I forgot to mention Casey Owens. I believe that they got Ichiban going on. It's Niji Ichiban is going to be there against Casey Owens. Now, Casey Owens is a big old brute with some big old feet, and he will kick the mess out of you and run over you any chance that he gets. So Ichiban is definitely going to be using his speed and his striking game to try to get under Casey Owens and make sure that man stays on the ground the whole time. And I believe that's going to be it for Forever Pro Wrestling. But man, we've got so much planned over the next couple weeks. And like I said, if Christmas for the Kids doesn't pan out, if they cancel for any reason between now and December 14th, we definitely will be in Troy, Missouri. We'll definitely be going to Troy, Missouri for that show. So we have a lot planned, a lot of stuff going on. And then I know also in January, Exodus Pro is going to be putting on a brand new show at Treelawn Music Hall in Cleveland, Ohio. Let me pull up Exodus real quick. I didn't have them up. Give me just a second.
While you're pulling that up, the School of Morton is at their new location in Newport.
Yes, sir. That's their brand new location. So the Chucky Dome is no longer available in Chucky, Tennessee. The building was condemned, basically. Let's just call it what it was. And they had to move. They had to find a place real quick. And they actually got an awesome deal in Newport, Tennessee. The building that they're in sat open for almost 8 years, and they got a great deal on it, and they moved right in. And that's going to be at 128 Five Rivers Plaza in Newport, Tennessee is where you're going to find them. And they've got plenty of parking. It's in the middle of a huge parking lot. They've got a Family Dollar and a Dollar General side by side. and they've got a Cricket store that's on the other side, and it's got a huge parking lot for both of those stores, and parking is available for everybody that wants to come to those shows. Go ahead, sir.
Mr. Howie, that's big for School of Morton to get relocated and to get settled into a place.
Absolutely, it is. And we were so glad. We were actually at their first show at Fright Night, and there was so much stuff going on for them, and they had a great crowd. They had 230 people that showed up. They had 100 people that were just walk-in people that came off the street for them just to see what was going on. And I got to say, man, that's a great showing for them, especially the Chucky Dome, which only held 75 people. So, I mean, they were stacked and packed up against the walls and all in action everywhere. So it was a great show for them. Now, we were talking about Exodus Pro on January 18th, 2025. They're going to be doing Begin Again. If you guys didn't get a chance to watch Exodus Pro on the NWA's main YouTube channel, definitely check that out. Their last show was Usual Suspects. We were there. We were taking photos and videos for Usual Suspects at Tree Lawn Music Hall in Cleveland, Ohio. And Dante Casanova performed a gauntlet match. He faced 6 different people. And my God, did the man run through it. I mean, he definitely was winded by the end of it. He had a lot going on, but he's going to get his chance at Begin Again at Big Smooth, the heavyweight champion of Exodus Pro Wrestling. And we're going to get to see if he's got what it takes to put Big Smooth down and under for good. I mean, it's going to be excellent, guys. So you don't want to miss any of this action that's going to be coming up with Exodus Pro and the NWA. All right, guys, I'm sorry about that. I'm all done with my promos.
Hey, that's what we're here for. Howie, I'll come to you after this question. But before I leave you, and we're going to talk about Evan Golden and the Kansans in a minute, I want to ask you, you brought it up. You know my heart is big into the Forever Pro. Jamison Shook, Chris Chronic. That match is a main event match in 1985 at any show in the NWA.
At any show that you would put these two in front of each other, it's going to be a main event match. And any promoter that's out there watching currently, Tony Khan, I know you're out here. I know you're watching this. I know that you guys are out there watching it with Joe Kazana. I know you guys are watching it. EC3, I know you guys are watching it. If you guys need a main event for any reason, you need 2 people that can just go at it for over an hour. Iron Man match. You need them to do a bull rope match. You need them to perform a hardcore match. These are the boys that you want. I'm going to tell you right now, Jamison Shook, he has a lot going for him, and especially rated in PWI this year. I mean, he got that big PWI rating for him. You guys are missing out on some great talent if you're not booking these kids. You're not booking Chris Crunk. You're not booking Jamison Shook. You're missing out on great talent. You're missing out on money, and money does not need to be left on the table. These two deserve to have that big spotlight put on them.
Howie, I'll go to you after this, but bell to bell, 2 of my favorites, Chris Crunk, Jamison Shook. Those are 2 that are close to my heart. I don't think we gave, and I'm going to give some roses to Evan Golden and here in a minute, but we don't give our roses out enough around here. Those 2 bell to bell, as good as anybody in any major promotion. Go ahead, Mr. Howie.
Talking about the local guys and the ones that needs to have a opportunity like Jamison and Chris, who are some other guys that should be getting a closer look at?
Well, are you talking just in general from everywhere that we go?
Yes, just in general.
Excellent. So SPCW, the Weaver and the Pain. I want to talk about them. I want to talk about the Stew Crew. Both are tag teams. I told you I'm real big on tag team wrestling. One of the reasons is because you can't win without your partner. You have to have somebody watch your back at all times. The Stew Crew, Zach and Dylan, Silverback Zach and Dylan Stewart. Deserve to have the nod. They deserve to go each and every place that you guys have them. They are excellent performers inside and outside the ring. They are the current JCP World Heavyweight. Oh, no, I'm sorry. I made a mistake. The Blockbusters are the current JCP World Heavyweight Champions, but they are up for the #1 contendership there with them, according with Team JV as well. So I'm sorry about that. I had my storyline just a little bit mixed up. They are the current SPCW tag team champions right now, unless they lost them tonight. And that's still going on right now. Thanksgiving in the cages. The cage collision is still going on up at SPCW right now. So But they deserve to have the nod. The Weaver and the Pain definitely deserve to have the nod as far as tag team local wrestling go. Those guys would be entertaining anywhere that you put them, any place that you put them. They will succeed. Of course, Evan Golden. I've got to say Evan Golden. It's not because that I love him or I hate him. The man just knows how to get under people's skin. If you would have went to Beside the Ring Championship Wrestling in Elizabethton, Tennessee this past week, you would have saw him face Heath Slater. And he got under that crowd's skin. He made them itch and crawl and yell and scream and throw things. And the man just knows how to pull it out of everybody. And he is still the current Beside the Ring champion. I have to break it to everybody right now. He did not get the chance to win that title fair and square. I'll say that. Something happened, and I can't say what because I'm not at liberty just yet. But I will say this. I will say that Evan Golden is still the Beside the Ring champion currently, and he would be somebody that I would promote anywhere in the world at any given time. If we're talking about singles competitors, Dr. Joe Briggs, we talked about him earlier today with his lovely wife, Rebecca Lynn. They would definitely be a great asset to anybody that's out there in the world of wrestling. Local that we've got Christopher Battle from Cleveland, Tennessee down here running at Championship One Wrestling. He's going to be a great kid to go out. Casey Cage is another one. Now, Casey Cage is kind of an enigma because in the NWA, he had the television title for almost a year and a half, and he did not lose it. He had to relinquish the title whenever he tore his knee up, and he had to go through and have some things done to it, some surgery, take care of himself, and he was never asked to come back. So I don't know what happened there with that bridge, whether it was burnt on one end or the other, but I would say Casey Cage deserved to have that nod in any promotion at all whatsoever. If you guys are out there trying to book somebody, Matthew Oliver Peppercorn is another one that I would have to say is very entertaining, has a great long life, and has some lasting stuff for you. Of course, you've got AMJ on the card in Forever Pro Wrestling, but it also Championship One Wrestling. AMJ deserves to have the nod. He has the crowd behind him everywhere he goes. It doesn't matter where he goes. They love AMJ. He was in Alabama a couple weeks ago, and they just cheered. The whole crowd knew who he was whenever he came out, and it was his first time there. So the word has got out on AMJ. So those are honorable people that I would say deserve the nod to get to the next level, to move to that next thing. The question becomes, what are you willing to do it? So there's a lot of people that you can sit here and say they deserve it. They deserve it. They deserve it. Well, not only do they deserve it, but you have to work for it too. And there's a lot of people who aren't willing to put the work in. I'm not going to mention specific names, but I'm going to say that those people know who they are and they know exactly what they've done to stay exactly where they're at. And you reach a plateau. It's like anything else. So let's say you go to school to be a doctor. Well, after 10 years, you might have to recertify on your American Heart Association, getting your CPR in. You might have to recertify on some other things. Well, the same thing goes with wrestling. After a certain amount of time, you might have to go back and say, well, I need some help. I need somebody to help me here. I need somebody to do some stuff with me. I need to learn some new stuff. And if you're willing to learn, you'll always have room in this business to grow. All the good ones. Chris Jericho, perfect example. So everybody remember when Chris Jericho got his big break with WCW, right? I mean, that was his huge break. He had ECW first, then it went to WCW, but WCW was the huge break for him. His finishing move was the Lion Salt. Then when he moved on, it became the Walls of Jericho. Then it became the Code Breaker a couple of years down the road because he wasn't able to perform those same moves the way that he used to. So on and so forth. It's an evolution. If you're willing to learn, you're willing to go through and do things to make it work for you, and you're willing to listen to the crowd and listen to the pop, there will always be a spot for you in the world of wrestling.
So you're talking about learning. Great segue to my next question. If you're a young individual out there that wants to get into the indie wrestling, how would you go about doing it?
I would find a school that is related to a farm system. So we all know that the WWE opened up the ID program right here recently. The problem that I have with the ID system is this is personal for me. So I'm going to kind of speak about it openly with you guys. The ID system is built to be a monopoly, to cut all the indie programs out. So what I would tell you is find an indie program that has a farm system where you can go somewhere. Southern Pride Championship Wrestling, Jacobs Pritchard Wrestling Academy is their farm system. Jacobs Pritchard Wrestling Academy trained Kane, trained Dr. Tom, trained Edge. He trained Natalia. He trained Natalia Markova. There's lots of people inside the business that were trained by Dr. Tom. Those are just the few off the top of my head that I can remember, like clockwork. He trained me, so you gotta be able to succeed at some place like that. Jacobs Pritchard Wrestling Academy. You can find them online at jacobpritchardwrestlingacademy.com or jpwa.com is where you can go. Net Pro Studios LLC out of Kingsport, Tennessee. Daniel Jones is affiliated with the National Wrestling Alliance. His school is affiliated with the National Wrestling Alliance. He does some things that are a little unconventional, but he gets the best results out of the people that are there. He's got a guy right now that's wrestling for him called Big Deal Bobby Kang. You guys need to be looking out for this guy in the future. He's a huge man with great agility, but he's a big, big man, but he can definitely wrestle. He's one of the teachers that I would say has it together, has the ability to have it together. Of course, the School of Morton, they've got Kinsey Page from the National Wrestling Alliance and also Casey Kazana running their training regiment along with the Mortons, of course. So, I mean, you've got the wrestling family, the Mortons, that are related with the National Wrestling Alliance as well. Also into the AWA side and the GCW side there, they can get you on both sides there and get you booked in other places. The other thing is making sure that your license and your physicals are up to date. So whenever you go to retrain or you're going to train and get involved in training, make sure that you're paying for your license and you're paying for your physical. And if you want to wrestle in any other states, pay for those states' physicals and those licenses when you're going to those states as well. If you don't, you will be denied. You will not be allowed access into those states to wrestle. So make sure you have your physicals up to date. Make sure that you have everything up to date as far as your card and your registration for those states as well. Some places require you to have a manager's card. If you're a manager, definitely get that updated up to date as well. But yes, the School of Morton, we'd have to go back to Net Pro Studios LLC. You'd have to go all the way back if you're going through and just try to find you someplace good like JPWA, Jacob Pritchard Wrestling Academy for SPCW, and so many others, man. There's lots of others that I'm missing out here right now. World League Wrestling is going to be a great one for the National Wrestling Alliance, and so many more. So definitely try to get yourself trained at one of those facilities that's out there. There's a couple in California. NWA California has a couple that are out there as well. They're not as prominent. They don't put out as many people, but they do put out people that we know of. John Cena was one of those people that went through them and then transferred over to Ohio Valley Wrestling, which at the time was your friend, Mr. Jim Cornette's. And he got the nod through Jim Cornette and them. So Ohio Valley Wrestling is going to be another one if you guys can get there. Now, it takes a lot to get there to Ohio Valley Wrestling because they've moved into an actual promotion and production facility. They're no longer just a training facility. So they don't train all the time. You might have to get trained somewhere else to get into them, but that would be a great place for you as well, as long as you can get the application and get the nod from them.
Randy, what do you got? Finish us up, buddy.
John, Jacobs Pritchard, that's in Knoxville, is it not?
Yes, it's in Knoxville and it's also in La Follette. They do both. They do training sessions in La Follette and they do training sessions in Knoxville, Tennessee, both. Yes, sir.
I don't even have this in our notes. I don't have it anywhere, but I'm just going to. The closest thing to regional stars, the closest thing to me, the hottest thing in wrestling that doesn't have WWE on it or AEW on it is the Southern Six. Tell me how it is to have something that huge in the indie scene.
It's big. And not only is it huge, it's brought the fans back. And it's brought the fans back in the regions where it needed to go. The southern portion of the regions, Alabama, Tennessee, Kentucky, Virginia. You've got all the people from Missouri that are catching it now. You're going to have Houston here pretty soon that are going to be getting a piece of the Southern Six for them. Dallas, Texas, Fort Worth, Texas has got a piece of them last year. They're going to get a piece of them again this year. And we got to see the growth of the Southern Six from the very beginning. From the ill-begotten is normally what they were before they broke up, and it turned into the Southern Six. The growth from it was phenomenal. Kerry Morton, Alex Taylor, and Silas Mason, the Thrillbilly. What a great group of people together. The hottest thing in professional wrestling, as you said, the hottest thing currently as a three-piece in professional wrestling. And I would put them up against anybody any day of the week, and they would come out victorious. Now, they do have some antics that nobody wants to talk about, especially with the legend, Ricky Morton, at their side. So if you're talking about them being the Southern Six, it's more really like Southern 8 with those 3 boys there going at it. But yeah, last year at Dothan, they had a huge cage match for the tag team titles, I do believe. And they ended up losing that match only because of interference from the outside. So, and they are going to be back in Dothan, Alabama on the 14th of December. You're going to get a chance to see them, but you'll also get a chance to see the Thrillbilly Silas Mason, I believe, if I've got it pulled up, the 20th of December at North Meigs Elementary School in Meigs County, Tennessee, is where that's going to be taking place for Joe Kazana Promotions. The Thrillbilly is scheduled to be there himself, and he is the JCP heavyweight champion currently, and he's got a rivalry going on with Jax Dane in JCP, the most decorated man in all of NWA, Jax Dane himself. And it seems to be that he's a little scared of Jax Dane from what's happened in the past. They just put out a new episode on the NWA JCP website as well. If you go to youtube.com and type in NWA JCP or NWA Joe Kazana Promotions, it'll pop up for you. Hit that like, hit that subscribe. The new episode is out, and you can see exactly what I'm talking about. It dropped today for them. So, but the Southern Six is definitely on fire. I think the only people that may have a chance against them is if Eric Smalls gets involved with Knox and Murdoch, if they go for those tag team titles. I think that would be the only way that they would have a chance. Now, with that being said, I want you to book it, Joe. I know you're watching, baby. Book that match. That's going to be money for you if you book the match, baby.
Hey, I am the biggest mark for the Thrillbilly that's ever lived. And the greatest Terry Gordy ever in Iron Claw.
Absolutely. And you know, the crazy thing is he looks so much like Terry Gordy in real life. Like he really does. His actions, the way he runs the ropes, the way he hits people, the way he shoulder blocks, the way that he clotheslines. It's almost like it's a made over version of Terry Gordy. Really. I mean, absolutely is. And I got to say, coming from a couple of years ago where he was partnered with Pollo Del Mar, no offense, Pollo Del Mar, I know you're watching too, baby. But where he was partnered with Pollo, I think the Southern Six is a step up, and it's one of the best steps that he had. I think he had to have Pollo Del Mar to make this step and to be as viable as he is. I don't think they trusted him like they trust him now. And I believe that he is the centerpiece for all of professional wrestling moving forward in the future.
Absolutely. I know we're running out of time, and this was big on my heart, Howie, and I'll let you get in on this. But I sent Howie a clip of Evan Golden and Casey Kazana, and you yourself had both of them on the show right before their big East Tennessee championship match. How did you become part of that? And for me, having watched only what's on the internet, two of the greatest young wrestlers we've got going in Evan Golden and Casey Kazana.
Excellent question. So it started when Evan Golden wrote me and he said, I've got a match against Casey Kazana and I don't know what I'm going to do. And I told him, I said, you know what you're going to do? You're going to come on my show and you're going to promo it and we're going to make it work. And he said, you really think I could? And I said, absolutely. Anytime you want to, Evan, we're going to do it. So he did. He came on my show and started running his mouth about Casey Kazana and how he's going to chop him like he did his brother and how he's going to keep him out of the match altogether. And he wasn't going to go anywhere or do anything. And he was going to retain that East Tennessee heavyweight championship like he did. And Casey wrote me the following day and said, when can I come on your show? And it started. It just performed and made it work. So we had him on the following week. It was the following Thursday. He decided that he was going to come on for us, and he started going on and talking about Evan, talking about the match, talking about how Evan was basically given that title. It was a family event from Dr. Tom. Dr. Tom decided that he earned that title and it was given to him. He didn't earn it. He didn't win it, and that it deserved to go to somebody who could actually win it. And it just started from there. And then they started chattering back and forth and going back and forth. And then eventually it got to the point to where Evan decided that he was going to come on my show one night, and I kind of blindsided him with Casey. It kind of came out of the blue. So Casey messaged me while Evan was talking. He said, can I come on, please? Can I come on? Please let me come on. And I said, okay, I got you. I'll let you on. And it started back in there. And then they started chattering back and forth and going back and forth at it. And it became one of the hottest rivalries in professional wrestling. And we've got to go way back. So it actually started at the School of Morton about a year ago. They were running Gen 3 Express, which is the tag team. It's Evan's tag team partner, Mr. Michael Gabriel, and Evan Golden himself, and they were running with Casey Kazana as the Generation 3. Of course, all three members are third generation wrestlers, hence the name Gen 3 Express. Well, something happened in between them. They were in a tag team match, and somebody decided to leave. We'll call it like that. Somebody left, and the other person ended up winning the tag team titles. Well, they gave Evan Golden those tag team titles after they left. And the following week, he dropped them, and it started a kind of rivalry from that point in time forward because of everything that happened with them dropping the titles. It started, we gave these to you, you didn't earn it, now you've got to earn it, and it just kept running from there. Exo Facto moving to Fright Night. So at the School of Morton 1 year later, these two are finally getting their hands on each other. They're finally getting to put it together, and man, what a match that was. Evan Golden took Casey Kazana to the limit, and vice versa. Casey Kazana took Evan Golden to the limit, and we got to see a new East Tennessee heavyweight champion crowned at Fright Night. And then I've got to talk about this too. The following week, after Evan loses the title, he comes out with some abomination title and calling it the new East Tennessee heavyweight championship title, and nobody's going to take it away from him. Nobody whatsoever. And I thought, well, goodness, if you're really that concerned about your image and losing that title, why not just win it back from Casey Kazana? Why not just go after the man that took it from you to begin with? Are you afraid? I mean, Evan, are you afraid? Are you afraid that you can't beat the man? Is that what it is? I mean, I'm your friend here. You can talk to me. You can come on the show anytime. We would love to have you back in January sometime, baby, and talk to me about it. But you know he's hosting this open challenge. So why not, instead of make a fake title, and by the way, he lost the fake title the first week he had it, 2 to TKO. Instead of making the fake title and trying to worry about your image, just go after the real thing, baby. I mean, you got to go where it's at. And so it's just ran over from there. They've just had a great rivalry, and they were just beside the ring, and they had their tables set up right beside each other. And Evan put his wife in between him and Casey Kazana as kind of like the peacemaker. They were giving themselves the dirty looks all night at Beside the Ring Championship Wrestling. And you guys should have been there. You should have seen it. I should have taken better footage of it, to be honest with you. But Evan had other things on his mind, especially after his huge losing streak that he's been on here recently. I mean, I think for the past 12 shows, he's lost 11 matches in 12 shows. So he's been on a huge losing streak here recently. He's lost a little bit of his confidence, and he's got to get it back somehow, some way. What better way than reenacting that rematch clause that you've got for the East Tennessee Heavyweight Championship and beating Casey Kazana 1, 2, 3 fair and square in the ring without the help of your little monkeys, your dad, without the help of any other Golden, without the help of your tag team partner? Why can't you just do it by yourself, Evan? We got to know. You got to come on the show and talk to us about it. Is that good enough?
That is perfect, Howie. It's one of the best rivalries. I watch the Wrestle Talk show with them both on it, and I swear, 1 minute I was so kayfabed out that I would be sitting here screaming, and the next minute I was rolling in laughter with some line like, oh, it was the best of what pro wrestling is. Howie, wrap us up tonight and finish up with your questions. And hey, Joseph, I know we do this too often, but don't get away too quick.
No problem.
We will bring you back. Please, sir, join us again for a part 2. So much we did not cover, and this is great for our audience. And, you know, with you coming here, we've been very blessed and very honored to get a lot of sports fans. And we're trying to expose those sports fans to pro wrestling a little more because we love it and we grew up on it. So we'll get you back, and we would love to have you back anytime.
Love to be back anytime, guys.
This has been great if you're a River City Media listener and you've never been to a pro wrestling event and you've never been to an indie event, start it, and you're in the Chattanooga area where Howie and I are. Start with BFW Sunday, Forever Pro. Howie.
Yes, sir. Thanks for joining us tonight, Joseph. It's been a great night. Something I always do to all our guests is I want a verbal commitment from you, your word that you'll come back on here at a later date.
Absolutely, Mr. Howie. You don't have to worry about that. You all set the date, and as long as I don't have a date for a podcast that night or I'm not at an event, we will do it for sure, 100%.
That's great. That's awesome. You know, before we get out of here, we want to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving. I remember growing up in the 80s, Thanksgiving night, going to my cousins and watching Survivor Series. You know, that was the thing on Thanksgiving night. Hurry up, eat your turkey, eat your dressing, get your quick nap in, because you knew at 7 o'clock it was time for Survivor Series. So, what's one of your favorite moments from the Survivor Series in the past?
Oh man, you're gonna put me on the spot. If I had to do Survivor Series, I think my favorite moment was Mr. Perfect finally winning that Intercontinental Championship. I think that was one of the best moments that he had at Survivor Series. And then I also would love, I don't know if this was Survivor Series or not. It might have been Survivor Series. I think it was Lex Luger when he actually slammed Yokozuna. I believe it was at Survivor Series as well. So
I think you're 100% correct. Go ahead, Randy.
The debut of the dead man, The Undertaker. That's mine.
Awesome. So appreciate you joining us tonight. We're not going to let you get out here without giving any shout outs to anybody that you may want to.
absolutely. So I would definitely love to give a shout out to all my friends and family, everybody that came in, all the promoters that were here tonight that got to watch this as well. Thank you guys for coming in and being here. We don't get a chance to do this without you. We have merchandise that's always available. You can catch it at www.streamlabs.com/Arabbidb3aver, just like it's spelled on my name, /merch all together. You can catch it there, and you can give a one-time love donation or a monthly love donation if you love to see the media that's going on just like this. That's how we pay our lights and keep everything on. And that's how we go to all these shows that we're available to go to, is because of 100% viewer support, just like you. You guys are awesome, and you keep it out. So I want to thank each and every one of you supporters, all of you fans, everybody, RiverCity-Media, everybody that's out there in the podcast community, Wrestle 2000, Amy Berryman. Without Amy Berryman and Professor Bear, I don't know if you guys had Professor Bear on, but Herman Cade, Professor Bear, without you guys, we would not be where we're at today. I want to thank each and every one of you guys for giving us the confidence and giving us the platform to use through your sites as well. And same thing with RiverCity-Media. Thank you guys for allowing us the opportunity to post on your channels and on your pages and giving us the platform. Without you guys, we wouldn't be where we're at. So thank you guys so much.
I know. Thank you. And for everybody that's first time watching, go out, subscribe, like, share, pass the word along to everybody that we're out here. We kind of took a little hiatus during football season because myself, Randy, and Jeremy Johnson also is all involved with football.
We're sick of football. We want to do some pro wrestling now, so come join us.
Yeah, we would love to do pro wrestling with you guys. Come on out.
Yeah, we was all involved with football in some form or fashion. Jeremy broadcast, Randy broadcast, my daughter's in the band, so I'm not going to miss that. As much as I like wrestling, I'm not going to miss that for the wrestling. But we're going to get back started hopefully next week or the week after. Randy.
Hey, thank you, Joseph, and I appreciate it. Hey, give a shout out to your lovely wife too, because she does a lot of work with you.
Absolutely. Miss Cassara Hughes is how you can find her on Facebook, and she does a lot of the videos and editing for us here at Wrestle Talk with Arabbidb3aver. So a lot of the reels that we come out and we put out on my page and her page, that's where you get it from. And also all the other societies, the Wrestling Society, Wrestle 2000, all of that. Anytime that you get a video out, also RiverCity-Media, anytime that you get a video out, it's been edited either by her or by myself, or we both work on it together, and that we work together and do the podcast together sometimes as well. Come and join us. We'd love to have you. It's either every Tuesday or every Thursday, 8 p.m., unless posted on Facebook that we're canceling for the night or we are scheduled to be somewhere else. So every Tuesday and every Thursday, 8 p.m. is how we're going to be having it. And I know that in December, we've got Insane Dane Burns going to be coming on. He's actually on an adventure right now out west. He's gone to New Japan Pro Wrestling. That was the one that I couldn't think of that's affiliated with the NWA on the other side. New Japan Pro Wrestling in California. He's running the California side right now. And we're going to get his story coming up in December. So you guys just join on in. Be with us every Tuesday and every Thursday. Wrestle Talk with Arabbidb3aver, Joseph DH Facebook, or Nerdy Gaming with Arabbidb132 at YouTube.
Takes a lot to get on here every week, 3-4 times a week. Or, at one point this year, we were doing 10 hours of content it takes a lot to produce that content.
It really does.
So for everybody, River City Media, you can find all the links to the Wrestle Talk. You can find everything. Thank you for joining us. Have a great Thanksgiving. And thank you for taking a little journey with us. Good night.
Happy Thanksgiving, guys. Y'all have a great night.
God bless.